It was a short sprint to the far end of the street, but Porter struggled to keep pace with the younger commando. He'd barely covered 50 meters, but by the time he reached the corner of the last building, Porter's lungs were on fire and his legs were beginning to cramp. The younger man waited for him to catch up, then motioned for him to take the lead. But Porter shook his head, his non-firing hand digging into his pocket for the baggie of tramadol. He'd come to rely on the opioids more and more during his time in country, and lately he'd been popping the pills like candy. War was a young man's game. "You go," Porter told the other man, swallowing 2 of the pills. The commando pretended not to notice the tramadol, or didn't care. Wordless, he nodded and stepped out from behind the corner, leaving Porter to cover the intersection while the commando ran back toward the clinic and the waiting helicopter. A few seconds later, the man called back that he was set, and it was Porter's time to move. Still out of breath, Porter peeled from the corner and forced himself into a painful jog. The commando had taken up position behind a low wall, and Porter hurried past the man, eyes searching for cover of his own. He found what he was looking for in the rusted hulk of a car on the left side of the road, and he quickly ducked behind the trunk, his knees screaming. From his new position, Porter could see the Mi-17 on the ground, and the blink of his team's infrared strobes through the cloud of dust as they clambered aboard. Just might make it, he thought. Porter turned back to the street and brought his rifle to bear. "Set," he called back to the other man. At his signal, the commando left his position and was racing toward Porter and the rusted vehicle when the first Taliban gun truck hove into view behind him. The gunner behind the Russian PKM machine gun mounted to the roll bar, swinging his weapon toward the running man. With no time to shout a warning, Porter stepped from cover, flicking the selector on his rifle from safe to full auto. He feathered the trigger and sent a pair of controlled bursts toward his target, but his rounds pinged harmlessly off the turret shield welded to the top of the cab. Porter hammered through the magazine, maintaining his rate of fire until the gunner swung the PKM in his direction. The machine gun roared to life in a blaze of yellow, and time seemed to slow as a 7.62 by 54mm bullets came snapping down the road. Porter tried to escape the line of fire, but his legs suddenly seemed impossibly heavy. The bullets snaked across the road, sparking off the gravel, showering Porter with shards of rock and dirt. He cursed and threw himself to the ground, rolling out of the line of fire and pulling a fragmentation grenade from his kit. "Covering fire!" he shouted. While the commando engaged the truck, Porter ripped the pin free and released the spoon that triggered the frag's 5-second fuse. Most people couldn't wait to be rid of a live grenade, but instead of throwing it, Porter let it cook off, waiting a long 3 seconds before lobbing the frag toward the truck. His aim was true, and the grenade hit the hood, bouncing up the windshield and into the cab, where it exploded in a wash of flame and frag. The concussion caught the gunner full in the chest and sent him tumbling from the back of the truck. But even as he fell, he squeezed one last burst from the PKM toward the commando, and Porter was helpless to do anything but watch as the gunner's final rounds sent his man spinning to the ground. Porter broke cover and rushed to the man's side, pausing to rip a smoke grenade from his kit and toss it down the road. "I have a man down," he shouted into the radio. "Pilot, I need you to slow down these gun trucks and then pick us up at the alternate LZ. "Affirmative," the co-pilot replied. While gray smoke billowed from the canister, Porter went to work on the commando, ignoring the snap and hiss of the bullets past his head. He ripped open the trauma kit attached to the front of his body armor and pulled out a tourniquet. With the ease of hundreds of repetitions, he looped it around the man's shredded thigh and tightened the windlass. The commando screamed in pain and tried to squirm away, but Porter used his knee to hold the man down and continued to tighten the tourniquet until the bleeding finally stopped. Then he turned his attention to the ragged bullet hole that puckered the man's left arm.